Good morning. Here I've got my studious background going for me. Nat, I wanted to respond to your text in which why I'm finding value in doing videos is I can share my information and it's there. Um, and I share this that I'd much rather do this than the obligations that I have to get done today. So Nat, I listened to you speaking about oscillating, like moving towards and then being pulled back. Um, and what I can share is only what I've noticed about myself. And I think we have a similar history is that when I look at Audrey and how Audrey was set up for me, there was so many moving targets. It was like, I do this, all the way through. In all reality, when you look at it, it's lining up the ambition, a stand. And so what I worked to do was get real, like I'm working to get clear for me, what is it, my life for me? And four fundamental the magnetic mind produced a structure of go for these four, and as I worked those four, it was like all like everything that humanity would need would come from those four. And then what I figure is like, oh, as I get those four, um my story, that then I can add six or eight more other ones on there that become more of the, like, not the existential but more of the ultimate. But what I'm doing is like just exploring and being learning of what is possible just to these four, and the four that they are is, and it doesn't matter like, but here I think as long as everyone's doing it, I think we might as well be planting in the same garden, the same seeds. And so if people don't know what to aim at, what I'm choosing is that people choose to live a life they love. Second, is to choose to live their true purpose and true nature. And I don't like, to me, that is an authentic self. And three is choose a life of health and vitality. And then four, to be a conscious creator of our life. And those four are very broad. And if it's everyone, if we just authentically, everyone is going for that for themselves, that is the world that I want to live in. And so what I notice when I'll share with you why I asked the question, and it's perfect where you went with it about the culture index. But I also just want you to notice, um, which is good, that you're noticing the identities that you have created for yourself. And what you can do is choose to like, like own them, like create them and choose them to be yours rather than someone else's story. And just as like you and I's conversation here in the agenda group, here's what I can say is, as long as we know that we are enough and that others are enough and they're doing their best to live the life that they love, and they're using their authentic self. Now, it's not like we come out of the gate 100%. We don't just lay down our guard and come out 100% with our authentic self. It's really stepping into what am I afraid of and stepping at it and be like, what can I learn? And so in that is the choice now of every oh yeah, you'll see my fingernails were painted. My daughter, I finally let her paint me and then paint me up. Yeah, that's might be my spots, the lipstick. um but like how you're saying, oh, I'm not good at projects, it's like me neither. And that's the example of my daily lenses is I couldn't sit down and write. I do a couple of different things, and what I noticed was like, oh, that's fine. Like just do something consistently because I see how it shapes my day completely different. So here are like I still can have a conversation with you now, but here's the gist of what I had. I was working with Culture Index as I was learning their program through it. What I noticed is that there was a group of people that they would never hire, they would never recommend hiring, and your profile was one of those. This is just internal to the, like, as we teach like as an advisor, and that was not part of a world that I wanted to, but it opened up a space to say, to look at it from the point of view of that is how the world values it. And it's like, I don't want to be in a structure where, um, someone is saying that person is not, can't contribute. And so in that was like, that was where I was done, or not done with culture index, but it was like, no, there, like there's something else more. And so like when, and so that was my challenge, is like, in what structure, in what way could this be set up or work that everyone wins? And so it was like, oh, not culture index, but it was like using that framework to be, how can this be help to everyone? And in that, Nat, is like um, what we're practicing here and what we're working with here. And it's what it is um, I can only speak to my culture index profile, because that is how I work, right? And so what it is me to produce my stories for those of help, and then to notice everyone else's profile. And how could I communicate that in their way of listening? And so all of that is noticing and observing listening, and what a listener is, and that is listening for authentic selves, authentic content, and in authenticity also noticing like what listening for what might be in our way of what we're going for, guys. Like there's a beautiful strategy around, I know why we're missing our goals. And it's like, one, we aim, like Nat, we talked about it, we aim a goal out there, and we just go for that one, and we forget about what's through it on the other side. But when you're just living a life you love because you love it, it's like there's always, like, that's the only reason why, like that's the end of it. And so you're always shooting through it to that, and it just lines it up, right? That you're just everything else that you're avoiding lines up. And so there's a strategy to that, and it's design what you want, like where are you going to go, and it's got to be a true intention, a true, like, what do you want to be? And then you got to feel it, and then you got to know where you're at now. And what we're looking for is to uncover that resistance to having what you want. And all of that is your fear. Like a big part of it is the fear, but then there's also um, feelings there. And so what we're working with is to know what those feelings are. And then it's like, what do we do with those feelings when they're there? And it's like, that's where therapy is. Well, I'm not therapy here, but there's a whole way that we can get everything on board with us for the true intention, because what it is a miscommunication. Our body's misaligned, it's miscommunicating with each other. And what here's it shows up in my world is I'm miscommunicating from my rational thinking and my feelings, and like they're haywire, they're offset. And it's like I've been in an automatic rut in a way of being that has just over and over, that I in my mind say, oh wait, I woke up. And now I'm trying to listen, like, what is that feeling? Because when I'm perturbed and notice something, I'm going to share something. It's not ready at hand, but it will be. Zoom recording. There we go. Okay, now we're recording. So what I wanted to share here, guys, is um, notice, observe, and assess. This is notice, observe, and assess. And what happens when we notice, yeah, we're triggered by an external event, such as a lion or a tiger jumps out of the bush, right? Boom, we get noticed. And what happens is it comes into one of our senses from the outside world. We get triggered into our senses. We distort, generalize, and delete information that comes in. And really, from the first thing that comes in is this. Boom, it's triggered by a feeling, by time, space, language, memories, traits, decisions, attitudes, beliefs. Before we can get into here, our feelings come right into the middle of it. Just as we enter, like, as soon as we're triggered, we're feeling takes over. And from our feeling is when we shape our stories. And so what it is getting in front of that feeling, to be like, oh, like, of course, if we're triggered in a scary environment, like, we want that scary to do, yes, it will work, but not to be scared of public speaking. Yeah, not to be afraid of taking the next action, making a phone call. It's like getting, what are these scared stories that aren't serving us any longer, and they're really deep into our background, into our feelings. And in that is just to acknowledge that they're there, that come from six of them. But in all reality, right, it's the feeling that shapes our stories, and then we distort, generalize, and delete. We make an internal representation. Mine is like a picture or a visual. It's like I'm making sense of, like, what are we talking about? What's the scared self saying? The state, the mood that they're in, the psychology, right? The sociology, like, what are we going to do with it? How are we going to do it? And then we run it back through our beliefs, our time, our language, our specific think through it, and then we have our action. So all of this is how notice, observe, and assess to produce action. Notice, observe, assess, design the action, right? Produce behaviors, and then produce the outcome. And this is all that we do is we go from our head to our heart to our hands. I figured while I was here, I'd share this as well. Um, 5 steps to consciously create what you want. Here, right? Choose an end goal. Align your target with your end result. Move forward. Like get into flow with it. Set the direction and what that is, and then what does that feel like? Right? Really to feel it, to connect the motion, because you know what it feels like now. That what does is brings up what is in the way, and then what is in the way is we can unplug with questions and bring them into the active experience around what is causing the resistance. Why aren't we flowing? Why are we oscillating? Why are we stuck? And then we can take the aligned action. What it does is it shows up what is the next action that has this moving, and really what it is that action usually is real simple once it becomes clear, and then you slide right through into the next one. You just keep going, and what we're looking for is in places of our life where are we living the life that we love. We judge like, oh, how are we doing on that, right? What's in the way? Oh, that one's flowing really good. Well, what about these? And so we can start to look at our true goals, our true intentions, and see, are they flowing, or like at what degree are they flowing? Are they working? Are they producing the outcomes? And we can measure them along the way, but what we can do is we're really focusing all our energy on everything that we want, which is a true intention. And then we're working to be it before we see it, which means that we have to be it now, which we are. We are everything now. We are a miracle because we are alive. So we are the creators of our reality. And back to the I am and I am not, that is our current reality, all interpreted by our experiences, our sensations, and our intentions. This is around our intentions. Current reality. So just wanted to share that with you as well this morning. Well, that I think that wraps up for me, Nat. What I wanted to share a couple of little bits inside of that, a new practice for me this morning, so that I can get to working on the other stuff that I have to work on. I don't want to work on it. I think we all have things of that, but obligations that need to be done that I have ran out of time putting off. So I have to go do them now. I'd rather do this though. All right. Bye guys.